Hey everyone, welcome. I'm Katie Witham from Fox Sports, and I am so excited to be with you today because, well, this is all about you. I hope you realize how special you are because you are a part of something so big. Think about it. 113 member clubs, nearly 500 teams, over 9,000 players that comprise over 90% of the youth national team player pool, all playing year-round elite competition. You are the best of the best. You are the future. And this, well, it's just the beginning. Speaking of the best of the best, we have an all-star lineup of guests for you today. I know you know this one. He's a New York Red Bulls homegrown, now tearing it up with Red Bull Leipzig, Tyler Adams. Also, a U.S. Soccer Development Academy player and a Seattle homegrown. He is currently a Sounders forward, Jordan Morris. A Chicago Sockers FC product, current Orlando City winger, Chris Mueller. An FC Dallas homegrown and current Dallas striker, Jesus Ferreira, the head coach of FC Dallas, Lucci Gonzalez, and the head coach of the U.S. men's national team, Gregg Berhalter. I am so ready to hear from these guys, and you can join the conversation too in the chat. But my job today, it's to keep the ball rolling, and I know you are ready to hear this big announcement. So without further ado, please help me in welcoming the Commissioner of Major League Soccer, Don Garber.
Thank you, Katie, and hello, everybody. You know, as you could imagine, all of us in sports and in business, and Katie, I know you in your role have been doing lots of video calls, but this is the largest one that I've ever been involved in. We've got thousands and thousands of players and coaches all participating in this really historic event for our sport. And I'm so excited to really kick it off. You know, we have had a very, very busy couple of months as we in MLS and the pro sports industry and the country at large have been managing through some challenging times. But when things do get challenging, I think it really represents all of us. It provides us with an opportunity to really dig deep and see if we could create opportunity out of challenges. And that's what we're doing with this really important announcement today. You know, I know all of you know that MLS has been involved in player development really since our founding 25 years ago. But recently, we've made it one of the biggest priorities that we have day in and day out. We recognize that the future of our sport, the future of the sport of soccer in our country, and really the future strength of our league really depends on the improved and growing quality of our future players, as well as our future coaches. So that's why we've asked so many of you to join us here today. The mission of this new program, you're going to hear about its new name and its brand shortly, is to provide world-class player development, youth development, to have our country be able to stand toe-to-toe with the rest of the world that's been so engaged in high-level player development for so many years. And we recognize that we can't do this without all of you, you as players, all your families, your moms and dads, and in particular, all the academy directors and coaches that have been involved in building this sport at the youth level for so many years. And that's why we launched this initiative. It really was something that we did holistically, talking with leaders of the youth soccer movement here in our country to try to be as inclusive and as collaborative as we possibly could be. And that's why we came up with this new structure, a new governance structure, the way we think, the way we operate, to find ways that we can ensure we have a new approach to having input from parents, input from coaches, to try to get everybody's ideas, all their energy and all their innovation, and try to create the next level of player development in our country. And I want to really thank the academy directors and coaches that have worked very closely with the MLS staff over the last couple of months. I've had a chance to meet some of you, and I'm sorry I haven't been able to meet all of you. Without you, none of this is happening. This is a big belief in the future of our sport, and it's a big belief in the commitment that we in MLS are making to develop players at the highest level so that they can play at a level that makes the most sense for them, so that ultimately one day this country could win the World Cup, and the thousands of people that are on this call today will remember that they were on this call as a young player or as a parent or as a coach, and remember what this program meant when it kicked off here in early September. You know, as I started with, obviously, we're dealing with very difficult, unprecedented times in our country as we manage through the impact of COVID-19 and the impact on professional sports, obviously, and the impact on the entire world has just been almost unimaginable. And we know that there's been enormous impact on youth sports, something that we in the sports industry have been talking about quite a bit. And we know as it relates to the fall sports, it's been significantly challenging. We know that there have been massive issues with scheduling. And we want you to know that we understand and we take responsibility and are very thoughtful about our obligation to ensure that we are managing this during the pandemic in the safest and healthiest way, the same way we did when we managed the MLS's back tournament, the same way we're doing now that our teams are traveling and playing in their stadium. We will continue to work with your coaches and with our infectious disease doctors to ensure that we're getting the right impact in terms of how we manage this in the short term. So to all the young players that are on this call, and I know there are many, you are the future of the sport in our country. We are honored to be a part of it with you. We are excited to take this journey with you together. And I want to say on behalf of all of our teams, all of our staffs, all of our coaches at all levels, all of our owners and all of our fans, that we are deeply excited about what this could mean for your development, for your ability to be as good as you possibly can be, and ultimately help our country get to play and compete for Gregg Berhalter, hopefully someday soon, our great and esteemed national team coach. So on behalf of everyone associated with Major League Soccer, I want to say to all of you, welcome to MLS Next.
There's been many sacrifices I've made on my journey.
Spending countless hours at tournaments and practices just to make sure that I can achieve my dream.
There's a really thin margin that separates where you are right now and where you want to be.
Whatever you do now will set yourself up for the future.
As a kid, I knew that that's where I wanted to be someday.
You have to work harder than the person next to you to make the first team. It's a matter of who wanted it more.
At 13 years old, I joined the Philadelphia Union Academy. This is where I got today.
As soon as I started playing for Red Bull Academy, I wanted to one day play for the first team.
When I joined the Sounders Academy team, I think that's when I really knew that this was my dream.
It was always my dream to become a professional footballer. And I had the privilege to get promoted as a kid by the Vancouver Whitecaps and the MLS.
Gets away, and it leaps a cannon!
Guys, it's up to you.
You are next.
You're the future.
Tú eres el siguiente.
You are the next me.
I believe in you.
Let's go.
Come on!
You are the future.
You are next.
Wow. Are you ready? You are next. You are the future. And don't forget, you can join in on the conversation in the chat. Well, now we want to bring on our first guest. And I know you were all watching that UCL quarterfinal and saw Tyler Adams' game winner against Atletico Madrid. That goal, Tyler, still on replay in my brain. He is one of my favorite players to interview because of his passion, his class, and his down-to-earth personality. He's a New York Red Bull homegrown, currently shining in the Bundesliga for Red Bull Leipzig. Tyler, I can't imagine your life. You turned pro at 16 with New York Red Bulls 2. You faced Chelsea. And then within the next year, you worked your way onto the first team. And now you're off being a rock star in Germany. Talk to us a little bit about your pathway to becoming a pro.
Yeah, thank you for having me. My journey was very, very unique, to say the least. I remember being a young kid in Wappingers Falls, New York, and not many academies being around me. So for me, it was playing a lot of club soccer. But I remember going down to a Red Bull RDS camp and being exposed to some of the best coaches in the area, in the tri-state area. One of them had scouted me and said, yeah, we think that you're talented enough to join the academy. So I remember going through a rigorous training process and tryout process in order to make the Red Bull Academy. And I remember being 11 years old and, my mom making the hour-and-a-half drives each way after her late nights of work in order to allow me to try and reach my dream of, one day becoming a professional soccer player. Red Bull Academy took me in as an 11-year-old and I worked my way through that process. At 15 or 16 years old, I went down to Florida to a residency program that the national team offered in Florida, in Bradenton, Florida. And from there on out, I started to gain a little bit more attention from the first team. The first team signed me at 15 years old, or 15 or 16 years old, to the reserve team, which was, the USL team, Red Bull 2. And they kind of were committed to developing me and, making me a key factor to the process going forward. And I remember Red Bull being so committed to signing homegrown players and wanting to be one of the first teams in MLS to give these young players an opportunity. So at 16 years old, I made my debut for Red Bull 2, and later that year made my debut against Chelsea for the first team. And after a lot of years with the first team and a lot of games later, I made the transition to RB Leipzig.
Such a cool story. It really is. It never actually gets old for me, Tyler, hearing that. We have a special question for you now.
Mm-hmm.
Tyler, my name is Jade Tsai and I play for Medoval Academy in Queens, New York. How did personal setbacks influence you as a player and as a person?
Yeah, so for me, there's so many personal setbacks that I've had throughout my career, but none bigger than the one that I faced recently in going through my first major injury. And I think a lot of players would understand that, being injured is no fun. You want to spend all your time on the pitch with your friends, enjoying good football. But for me, it was the mental side of soccer that I hadn't quite gone through yet. Such a rigorous negative setback in my career where I had to sit in the stands and watch games when all I wanted to do is be out on the field and take everything in, whether it was the fans, the big games against Bayern Munich, against Dortmund, these games that you grow up watching on TV, along with my family, my coaches, my training staff, my medical staff. They pushed me to become a better version of myself. I not only grew as a person off the field, but when I came back on the field, I was ready to make a bigger impact and continue to be myself.
Tyler, thanks so much for spending some time with us today. I think it's like 9-10 p.m. Get to bed. Go on.
Thank you.
All right, so there is nothing fans, coaches, and heck, even sideline reporters love more than impact players. Our next guest is just that. Since the Gold Cup, Jordan Morris is averaging a goal or an assist per game. He was part of the Sounders Youth Academy and the U.S. Soccer Development Academy. He won the Herman Trophy playing at Stanford and is your reigning MLS Comeback Player of the Year. Jordan, I know you love it when I boast about you. There you go. That's it. Your pathway, though, is different from Tyler Adams. When you look back at what it took to get where you are, what stands out to you?
Yeah, definitely. Well, thanks for having me. First of all, it's super exciting to be here. I think what I realized about kind of your path to pro is everyone's a little bit different, and I think it's important to find where you feel like you would best develop. I grew up in Seattle and played for a local club around here, and when I was 17, I made the switch to the Sounders Academy team, and from there, got to train with the first team and kind of see what that lifestyle was like. And I think that's really where my, want to be playing for the first team came from. It is being around the team, being in training, playing in some reserve games, and being around the locker room. You see how the guys train day in and day out, and it was just super exciting. I knew that I wanted to be there someday, and the Sounders actually offered me a homegrown contract before heading off to college, and I was definitely weighing that option, but decided to go to college at Stanford. I felt like, I still had some developing to do, and that would be a good place to do it. And I feel like I grew a lot there as a person, as a player, and then eventually signed the homegrown contract in Seattle, and felt like I was much more ready when that time came around. So I think it's important to know that everyone's path is going to be a little bit different, but you kind of feel what's right for you.
All right, Jordan, we also have an extra special fan question for you.
Awesome.
Hi, Jordan. My name is Krubel. I play for the Seattle Sounders U17. And my first question for you is, how did it feel to sign a pro contract with your childhood club? And my second question is, how did you persevere through all the adversity you faced in your life? And how do you think this made you a stronger person? Thank you.
Yeah, definitely. I think to answer the first one, it felt amazing to grow up as a fan of the Sounders. My dad is actually the team doctor and was when I was growing up as a kid, so I was able to be around the team a little bit more than maybe a normal kid would be. So was a big fan, obviously, growing up, and to be able to sign a homegrown contract going from watching games in the stands, to being on the field was something that was super special. And to win a couple championships with my hometown team has been absolutely amazing. So it's been a really cool experience to play in front of my friends and family. And then I think similar to Tyler, one of my biggest setbacks happened, a couple years ago now when I tore my ACL, and I'd never really gone through a major injury recovery like that. And I think totally similar to Tyler, when I came back, I felt like this renewed player. And I told myself that I was going to come back a better player and a stronger player. And I think it's learning from those setbacks that's so important. I just came back with what I felt like was such a new mentality, where I appreciated being out on the field every day, never took a day of training or a game for granted, because when it gets taken away from you for a year, you just realize how much you miss it. So I felt like I came back with kind of a new energy, a new fire, and it really helped me progress as a player.
Jordan, I have a feeling there are a lot of future Jordan Morrises out there that are on this, watching you right now. What would you say to those kids? What kind of advice would you give them when you think about this opportunity that they now have?
Yeah, just keep working hard, keep striving for your dreams. Obviously, as a kid growing up, I always dreamed of playing for the Sounders, dreamed of playing for the national team, but never ever knew if it would come true. But with a lot of hard work and dedication to getting to where you want to be, anything's possible. So I would just, urge you all to keep working hard. The growth of this sport in this country is so exciting, and you guys are all a part of it. So it's awesome to see.
Jordan, thanks so much for spending some time with us today.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you.
All right, let's stick with the flashy forwards, shall we? Our next guest is a top striker, and until last night, he was number 2 in the league in goals scored. Sadly, dropped to number 3. Sorry, Chris. He is a natural leader who is one of the most dedicated, positive players that I've had the pleasure to be around. Chris Mueller was the 6th overall pick in the 2018 Super Draft after playing 4 years at the University of Wisconsin, where he led the nation with 20 assists and 9 goals in 21 appearances. Chris, we just heard how different Tyler and Jordan's stories are. And then I look at you, and you took a completely different route as well, proving that there's not just one way to do this. What does it take? What did it take for you to become a pro?
Yeah, well, first and foremost, just want to thank you guys for having me on, and want to offer some encouragement to all the young kids out there who are looking at such a grand opportunity in front of them. But yeah, like you said, all of our stories are different, and I think that that's the beautiful thing about this game is that, there's no really one way to do it. There's no one-way map that says that you have to do it this way. So when I was 9 years old, I ended up going over to the Soccer's FC Academy and was trained from there on. I stuck with the one club all the way. I learned so many valuable things from every single coach that I had during my time at the club. And from there, I had the opportunity to go to a lot of showcases and things like that, where you're able to be put kind of on that college platform and see if you can get that opportunity to play collegiately, which was at the time what I wanted to do. So thank God that my parents were able to take me to my trainings, and they did really hard and worked really hard to make sure that I could go to all the trips and getting me to practice, getting me to my games. Those are all things that the kids definitely shouldn't take for granted. But yeah, so from there, I ended up going to the University of Wisconsin, where I learned a lot. I think I matured a lot as a person and as a player. We struggled a lot in my first 2 years and ended up turning things around during my last 2 years in school. And playing 4 years there, I think, like I said, really helped me just grow and become a better person, more of a man. And I think it definitely prepared me for playing in the league. And getting drafted to Orlando was also such a blessing. It's crazy how you look at the path and can see how things kind of just align and work for a reason. So having been in Orlando and gotten the opportunity to play with the first team and make my debut and score some goals and continuously learn and take this thing day by day, I think it's been a really, really fun and exciting process.
I feel like going to Orlando was a blessing because it's much warmer than Chicago and Wisconsin, Chris.
Yes.
We also have an extra special fan question for you.
Hello, this is Colo Rosario from the club Orlando City. I wanted to ask Chris Mueller, what were the major key differences coming from the University of Wisconsin to the club Orlando City and the MLS League?
Yeah, I think that, one of the main things for me stepping into the first team was just I was kind of starstruck by the people that were around me in the locker room. having led the college league in assists, and then coming into Orlando where I was playing with guys like Sasha Kleshin, who had just led the MLS in assists, guys like Dom Dwyer, people who were stars in the league. I was kind of starstruck, and it was a major difference just in terms of the speed of play. You look at the quality of players that you have around you, all the different implements and the details that you don't really necessarily, I feel like I didn't learn from a young age. And I came on and was able to learn a lot of things. I was able to soak up a lot of the process and just take full advantage of everything that came my way.
I think you just said that Sasha Kleshin is fast. I
Did
just was. Don't tell him I said that. Chris, thank you so much for spending some time with us today.
Yeah, no worries. Thanks, guys.
All right, so we are kind of seeing a trend of standout, overachieving 16-year-olds. Now, I'm saying that because I'm thinking about what I was doing at 16, and it is not what you guys are doing at 16. Our next guest, definitely a standout. Jesus Ferreira made his MLS debut in 2017, and on that night, he also became the second youngest goal scorer in MLS history at the time, which really came as no surprise to Dallas fans who grew up watching his dad become the MLS MVP with the Hoops back in 2010. For Jesus, a kid who quite literally grew up on the FC Dallas training grounds, there's no one more humble or hardworking. And last season, he was the club's leading goal scorer at the age of 18. Jesus, thanks for taking the time. Tell us a little bit about your pathway and what it took for you to become a pro.
Yeah, thanks for having me. My path was, a little different from the guys I just spoke. I moved here in 2009 with my dad when he first signed with FC Dallas. I used to come to training and watching the first team train pretty much every day, and seeing my dad go to different clubs, different stadiums, and meet different fans, it was just made me realize that this is what I wanted to do. I started with what we call a Premier League. Premier team is pretty much the best age group in our club. They were started off before academy they'd even start, and made my way up until they first started the first academy with a 2000 age group, and just made my way all the way till U19. When before that, when I was U17, I was coached by Coach Luchi, and it was now being coached in the first team it's a crazy experience, seeing the path that we both took to be now in the first team together. It's amazing.
You've got all the good stories on Luchi. We can talk about that later on, Jesus. You come from a bilingual background. I'm so jealous. I'm working on my Spanish. So we have an extra special question for you in Spanish.
Sounds good.
Hola, mi nombre es Daniel Freire y yo juego para la Sub-16 de los Chargers. Y mi pregunta es para Jesús Ferreira en cómo se adaptó viniendo de Colombia para jugar en FC Dallas.
No, sí. Creo que como jugador profesional uno se tiene que adaptar a muchas cosas, especialmente jugador de fútbol. Creo que nunca sabes a dónde te van a llevar, a dónde el fútbol te va a llevar, y es muy importante que sepas adaptarte. No importa si es el fútbol o lo que el técnico te necesita hacer o el idioma. Creo que eso fue lo más difícil para mí, mudarme de Colombia, donde todo el mundo habla español, a mudarme a un país que no conocía el idioma, no tenía muchos amigos, y creo que eso es lo más importante, poderte adaptar y poder saber que todo se puede hacer.
And I just want to follow that up once with Jesus. When you look at your career, no doubt you've faced some obstacles. What's one that you can think of right now that you overcame, and the best advice you were given that maybe some of these kids need?
Yeah, I haven't had a big injury like the past players have. I think one of the main obstacles that I had was when my dad moved back to Colombia. Me and my family had to make a decision between staying here and trying to pursue my dream, or move back to Colombia and follow with my dad. And I think now that we look back at it, we made the best decision. We decided to stay. I signed pro a year or two after that. Now my brothers are in the academy, so I think that there's always a risk in this profession, but you can always go with your gut and always talk to your family about anything that you need, because they're going to be the best advice.
Absolutely. The backbone of everything. Jesus, thanks so much for your time today.
Thank you.
We are so lucky because we get to hear from two incredible coaches, guys that I could and have talked soccer to all day long. First up is Lucci Gonzalez, who's in his second season in charge of a club he knows very well. In fact, FC Dallas lead MLS with 29 homegrown players, 21 of which were coached by Luchi. He was an academy coach and director, a Herman Trophy winner himself at SMU, played professionally in MLS and overseas, and I can personally vouch he is one of the best guys to bother on the sideline. Luchi, I love your perspective with this right now, coaching in the academy and now with the first team. We know environment's really important, but how do you create players that succeed at the next level?
Hi, Katie. Thanks for having me on. It's a pleasure. I want to say, first of all, I'm really proud. I'm proud to hear Jesus, the other players. I learned about Chris and his story here. Tyler, I remember coaching against Tyler when he was still in the development academy or youth national team. Jordan Morris, his story. These are all amazing stories, and I think great references for all of our players and all of our young players, parents, and all the coaches listening right now, that although the international player and the star player that we want to bring to the league is important for the league and the level of the league and the growth of the league, but we have so much potential with our domestic players and the pathways that they can go through to be an impact at the highest level, whether MLS or senior national teams. So these are guys that are great examples of that and references for that. I think the advice I can give based on the background I have, I am a product as well of the academy and of the youth soccer system in this country. I played youth soccer growing up in Miami, Florida. When I got drafted out of SMU to play in the league, there was no second team. There was no academy teams. And I didn't get very many opportunities. And I would say maybe I just wasn't prepared enough. And I don't think any young player is ever ready to debut or ready to have a career in playing at the highest level in this game. But they certainly need to be prepared so that they can take advantage of the opportunity that they can earn. And I think that's where we've really evolved. We've seen more investment from ownership, more belief in pathway. And that's a great thing. And this league, this competition that MLS has here stepped it up, really doubled down. MLS has taken one of the most challenging economical moments in the history of our country, and they've doubled down in youth soccer and youth development. And I'm just really proud that I am I'm not a player that's a product of this, but I am now as a coach. And so this is about developing people to have careers. So when you ask me the question, Katie, about creating a player to succeed at the next level, really this is all about creating people to succeed at the next level, coaches, staff, and players. And it's done hand in hand and it's done together. So the first thing is first, I think it's all about a vision. MLS clubs and non-MLS clubs. So I want to be very clear about this. MLS clubs and non-MLS clubs working collaboratively together, but having the same vision. And the vision for the player is to believe and have a conviction that that player can play at the highest level and have a career at the highest level. So that has to be a conviction, and that is shared by all leaderships and all clubs. And so with that, you need a structure. So the league is going to allow competition. At the youngest ages, it's going to be more at the local level, the regional level, more about creative football, playing the game the right way. So players are improving technically, they're improving in their game decisions, and they're becoming really thoughtful, smart, dynamic, creative players, not stressing the physical or the mental part so much at the youngest ages. As they get into U15, U17, U19, that's where competition is very important. That's where players need to adapt to different styles of play, circumstances, and really show a mental fortitude that's going to allow them to, like some of the things I heard from the players, make up that small margin to be a professional and not just debut, but have a career long term. And that takes now more of a development mentally and physically, of course. So, my last piece here and my advice, Katie, is make sure that we're all open, we're collaborating. I want to see all club leadership learning from each other at the local level, at the grassroots level, listening and learning from each other about the game and how we can improve the game and how the players play the game. And at the national level, where there's competition, you're fighting for trophies, international competition, because in that competition, you're out of your comfort zone and you can thrive to reach your very best, as we've seen some of the cases with these young players. So those are some of my thoughts.
Player development, coaching, staff development, and taking advantage of that opportunity. I know huge ones for you. Luchi, thank you so much for spending some time with us and chatting with everyone today.
Absolute pleasure.
Our last guest is one I know that you want watching. He is a North Carolina product who played overseas in MLS. He collected 44 caps in a 12-year international career that included 2 World Cups, making Gregg Berhalter the only U.S. national team head coach to have also represented the U.S. on the pitch. Berhalter was one of the first Americans to begin managing overseas before coming back and leading the crew to the playoffs in 4 of his 5 seasons in charge. But maybe my favorite hat that this guy wears, dad of an MLS player right now. Gregg, I know it's a big deal to these players and coaches. This MLS Next is a huge deal to all of them, but what kind of opportunity is this for young players today when you really sit down and think about it?
Well, thanks, Katie. I'm really excited about this program, and I can give you 3 specific reasons why. The first thing is it's a challenge. When you think about development, players need to be challenged to continue to grow, to continue to progress. So in this program, you have the best playing against the best, which is really important. Second thing is coaching. It's a very high level of coaching, and I can tell you the impact coaches can make on players' careers and the advice they can give them and the small things, the detail. That's what this is all about, and it's going to be a very high level of coaching that's going to help the player progress. And the third thing that I would say is the pathway becomes clear for the player. When you enter an MLS academy, you know that you're not far away from the first team. You know, there's examples when I was in Columbus, we'd have kids, we'd have players 16, 15 training with the first team all the time. So they can feel what it's like. They can see the players up close. And that's the pathway. So they're in the academy, they develop, they play well, and they continue to move and progress to the first team. So, you know, the message that I give to the players, for all you guys watching here, is that this is a real opportunity. You're not far away. Think about our age group, our national team right now. Think about all the young players that are involved in our national team. Tyler Adams, Christian Pulisic, Weston McKennie, Zach Steffen. You know, all of them have come from similar programs. So you're not far away. Keep working hard, and hopefully we're going to be watching them, and hopefully one day we'll be working with you.
Well, Gregg, with this being the premier platform, there's no doubt that U.S. soccer coaches are going to be watching to identify new talent. What are some of the good habits that you personally look for in young players?
You know, when we're watching youth games, in particular, you know, it's really hard to tell how that player is going to continue to develop from a skill standpoint and a tactical standpoint. But some things we are looking for, from a personality standpoint, is competitiveness. We want to see players that can bring that intensity in the match and want to win the match. I think that's really important. Second thing is coachability. How is that player able to take an instruction and then act upon it? And then the third thing is dealing with adversity. You know, things aren't always going to go your way on the soccer field. It's how you deal with negative events and how you're able to bounce back. The resiliency are really important factors to making a high-level player.
Gregg, thank you so much for taking the time and chatting with all of these young players and coaches today.
You're welcome, Katie.
So what does this all mean for you guys? Well, welcome to MLS Next. You are now an MLS Next player. This is your brand. We want to give you some special assets, customized player graphics to use across your social media channels. Show off and tell the world you are an MLS Next player. Right after this call, you're going to receive step-by-step instructions from your club on how to create your own customized hero graphic there. I mean, look, if they can do that for me, wait to see what they can do for you. Or you can log on right now to mlsnext.soccer/create. It's super simple. All you need to do is access the page and then share on your social media channels using the hashtag MLS Next. Key features: you can customize a photo of you, your name, and your club name. As we've heard tonight, if you train hard, work together, and dream, who knows where you're going to end up. Let's create the next revolution together.
Hey guys, my name is Alfonso Davies.
Open things up for Davies. Great move by Davies. Oh, this will be something. Oh! Ausgezeichnet!
As you all know, I made my way from Vancouver in Munich.
The storybook start. Alfonso Davies. Alfonso Davies.
It was always my dream to become a professional footballer. And I had the privilege to get promoted as a kid and a teenager by the Vancouver Whitecaps and the MLS.
15-year-old Alfonso Davies for his Major League Soccer debut.
You are the future. I know you've got what it takes.
Wow. I'm excited watching that. I hope you guys are too. And I hope you're proud of yourself. And I hope you grab this opportunity. It all really gets going this weekend with matches kicking off on Friday. For more information, make sure to log on and check out that new website, mlsnext.soccer. Thank you so much for joining us today. Good luck. And remember, you are next.